so that we don't lose time after you come in. So we want all the time with you as we can get. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege and honor to introduce my boyhood hero, Farooq Engineer. Now, for a lot of you who were born after he retired, still know him. Okay, he retired from Indian cricket in 1975, and a lot of them still know him. That speaks for the success that he has had, as an Indian cricketer. So what happened is a few weeks ago in Brisbane at the Thai Global Charter Member Retreat, we happened to meet Farooq there, and there were some very interesting things that we heard from him and we learnt about him, and we said, hey, we got to get this guy to come to us and talk to us here. So Farooq Engineer, I remember when I was a little boy, couldn't even read, but was able to see the cartoons. I remember the 1975 West Indies tour, and there was a cartoon. It showed a lot of the Indian players, essentially lying down, because of the West Indian bowlers. There were some who were shown bruised, some were shown with their arms in the cast and so on and so forth. And it showed one guy who was still willing to go in front and hit the ball. That was our man Farooq Engineer. They did show him bruised here and bruised there, but he was still willing to go down the wicket and hit the ball.
Bruised?
Never. The
ballers were bruised.
The ball broke. So, I still remember many years ago when he was, the only way to see cricket was on transistor radios. So you listen to the commentary, and like I said, when I was a young boy, I would ask my dad, what's the score like, and he would say something, a pretty bad score typically. And the question typically is, engineer out jhala ka, engineer yaitsai. It's like, okay, no problem, engineer aayega, kuch karega. That was the kind of thing. So, like I said, a boyhood hero, for sure. So, I remember in Lisbon, he made a statement which kind of hit me right there, saying that, he said, no matter what the situation was, he said, ball hai to wo marne ke liye hai, ball marne ka hai to marne ka jaake, that's about it. So somebody asked him, out ho gaya to out ho gaya, agli inning hai, but the ball is there to be hit, and it kind of reminded me of the kind of challenges that we have as entrepreneurs. We see an opportunity, it's there to be grabbed. You can't let it go. Yeah, out ho gaya to out ho gaya. There's another opportunity coming in. I think then we said, hey, there is something to learn from the psyche of a sportsman, and no better person than Mr. Farooq Engineer. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite Farooq. Please come here, give him a big hand. So, I do want to welcome Farooq with a bouquet. I'll request Rashmi from Clarion Venture Partners to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Keep smiling.
Thank you.
Have you ever given flowers to boys before? You know what it means in England when you give a man flowers. Thank you very much.
I think Rashmi would say not as good looking man as Farooq Engineer. Please take a seat, Farooq. And I'd like to invite Prakash Iyer, our own, I think some of you may have attended the event before, the Managing Director of Kimberly Clark, a passionate cricket lover himself. So I now hand this over to Prakash. So, your show, Prakash. Go ahead.
When he says hand this over, that's one hell of a handover that you got over here. Yeah. Okay, we don't have mics over here. Farooq, are you okay with that?
I'm fine. Are you? Can you all hear me?
Yes. Yeah, this is particularly good because some of the words Farooq uses.
Marathi Badya.
Okay, it gives me great pleasure to have Farooq over here with us, and I think the intent is that over the next 45 minutes or so, I'm going to try and ask him some questions and get him to respond and tell us stories. Farooq is a great storyteller. I'm sure this is going to be a lot of fun. And I want to just start with a quick introduction. Long before India found its place on the big table, today we all stand around, go around the world and walk as, proud Indians. But there was a time in the 70s, when that was not quite true. We were a country that was still trying to assert ourselves. And here came this man, okay? And long before Tony Gregg and Viv Richards happened, here was this guy who would always walk with his collars up. Okay, he had that swagger, which, you know, if in those days, if there was a guy who could sing to that line, "Aa dekhe zara, kisme kitna hai dam," that was the guy. So I think Farooq is not just about all the runs he scored, the fact that he's hit the fastest 100, the fact that he was India's, you know, one of India's finest wicket keepers. It's about this guy who entertained a nation and got us to believe in ourselves, to say, you know what, come what may, we can take on the world. So Farooq, great to have you here. It's a bit of a homecoming for him. So Farooq, how does it feel to be back in Pune?
Well, firstly, hello, made in China.
Hello, can you hear me? Listen, we're going to have some fun. We're going to have a very enjoyable evening. So be relaxed. Huh? It's an absolute delight. Firstly, thank you very much for taking the time of coming. For me, coming back to Pune, Pune bara bolta na? Pune, it was Pune in my time. No? I was in school here for a couple of years. SSPMS, now I Lakani. Shivaji Military School. I had an aunt who was the worst aunt anybody could possibly have. You know, and I remember so many stories. On my birthday, I used to dread, you know, you're looking forward to your birthday as a kid, but everything was fine. But that Aunt Nargesh I had, she used to give us a kiss. She had whiskers, you know. And every kiss took about 10 ounces of blood from either side. And put that red dilia, not little, she used to put from here to the very nose. You know, half of it going in the eye. And I used to get a pyjama, a striped pyjama. I never wore pajamas in my bloody life. Shorts and sleeve it, but every year, you know, till I grew up. Anyway, so she was instrumental. I was quite a naughty boy, still am, you know. So she said to my dad, you must teach him discipline. Send him to a military school, Shivaji Military School. I was here and it came back a lot worse, believe me, you know. So it was a great school, you know. I had my that's the cricket. And we used to walk on Mullah Mutha Bridge, you know, and that brought back memories today, you know. And I've still got a scar on my finger that trying to get back late one night after the curfew hours, I slipped and fell. So I mean, these are the memories that you have of Pune.
So who were the first influences in your life? Who were the guys who kind of got you started into the journey in cricket?
Well, my parents. I'm extremely grateful to my parents. You know, in Indian culture, we have that thing for our mother and father, you know, that affection. That unfortunately in Western countries is very, very less. The way we love and respect our parents, you know. I worship, I'm a Parsi, you know. You know, in England there are not many Agyaris, not a single one. But along with my God's picture, mother and father's pictures there, out of sheer thankfulness for what they've done for me. You know, so my mum and dad had a tremendous influence in my life. I had an elder brother called Daras, who had a tremendous, you know, who's no more unfortunately. So these three people I was by my mum's bedside when she was dying, you know, in Tata Memorial Hospital. And first time I was ever called back from a cricket match. And actually I was crying in the night. And sorry, I'm being emotional. She put her hand on my head. I said, don't cry, son. I've come back as your first child. So my first daughter was, you know, I was sorry, I'm getting emotional here. But this was the love and affection. My dad was a doctor by profession, you know, and he was a bit unfortunate because he had a surname like Engineer. So he was Dr. Engineer.
A very professional.
I bet he got some stick, you know. The story about one of my dad's friends was so keen on cricket. He played every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you know. He was never at home, I think he was always playing cricket. Mad keen on cricket. You know, this was one of my dad's best friends. And one day as he was batting, he saw a funeral pass the ground. So he promptly stopped the bowler, took his cap off, bowed down most respectfully, let the funeral pass. Next ball he put it back, cap back on his head, faced the next ball and hit it out of the ground for 6. The wicket keeper, you know, was a bit bemused. He said, this is fantastic, such marvelous respect for the dead. The batsman said, yeah, he says, I've been married to her for 45 years, that's the least. So I mean, these were I've spoken about SSPMS and, you know, that, but I was...
Tell us about Podar College. You went to college in Bombay.
Oh, yes.
When does this happen that, you know, a guy is willing to say, I'm going to make a career in an